Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to cover the 3 most important accessories that are going to make you a more lethal bow hunter, and we're going to cover the 3 least important accessories. So the 3rd most important accessory to make you a better bow hunter is a high quality release. Now I know what you're thinking. You've been shooting that True Fire that cost you 40 bucks for 5 years and you do great with it. I promise you, when you put a quality release on your wrist, or in your hand, or both, you will become a better shot, which is going to in turn make you more lethal. I've seen it time and time again. I've had several friends that shot the $40 releases, the cheaper releases, and they shot great with them. And I finally convinced them, by either letting them use mine or just sheer will, we'll say, to upgrade to a higher quality release, and their groups shrink. I've done it numerous times, and I've seen it numerous times in people that I didn't even convince to upgrade. They just did it. You will see better groups, more accuracy out of a better quality release. So that is number 3, quality release. Number 2 is a high quality broadhead arrow combination. This is literally what does the killing when you shoot an animal. This is probably the most important thing you'll ever put on an arrow if you're shooting at an animal. Don't skimp here. I understand that there are companies that make $10 broadheads and they do just fine. Until that $10 broadhead doesn't do just fine and you are now out the biggest buck of your life because the broadhead didn't hold up to maybe a poor shot or something of that nature. Get a quality broadhead and you don't have to worry about that as much. On the flip side, with arrows, make sure you're shooting a quality arrow. No, you don't have to go spend $200 a dozen to shoot a quality arrow. But the quality of the arrow does matter. It needs to fly right. It needs to be accurate, because an accurate arrow and an arrow that flies right is going to end up in more lethality in the woods. Period. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So number 2, quality broadhead and arrow combination. And the most important accessory to make you a more lethal hunter in the woods is right there. Your arrow rest. Your arrow rest is going to make you better, and I know what people are saying. I shoot just fine with my $20 drop away or my $40 whisker biscuit or anything of that nature. And yes, again, like with everything else, lower quality stuff absolutely works. And if you are on a budget, I understand that sometimes that's all you can afford. That is okay. However, if we're talking about where you should spend your money to upgrade first, arrow rest is number 1. Now why? Well, say you're on a whisker biscuit and you went the whisker biscuit route because you wanted something that's good, but you think it's time to upgrade for one reason or another. Well, just a simple upgrade to a drop away is going to give you a little bit more arrow speed. It's going to give you more forgiveness because there's less time that the arrow is touching the rest, so less torquing can be done. And it's going to make you more accurate. Drop away rests are inherently more accurate. The one thing with drop away rests is you really do need to spend money on quality. Yes, there are cheap drop away rests. Yes, they will work, but they have tons of issues, and you might as well just stick with your whisker biscuit if you're going to spend little money on a drop away. So this particular rest is the MXT, and it's very expensive. You don't need that. A QAD HDX you can pick up used for 70, 80, 100 bucks, and it's going to be anything, like, it'll do literally everything you ever need. Same with a ripcord Code Red, 100 bucks I think is retail on them. Great rest, work great. That just a quality drop away rest is going to make you better. Period. Number 3 in the least important accessories to be a more lethal archer. Bow sight. Really? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. You can put a $25 True Glow sight on there, or a cheap Cobra sight, or anything like that, and be just as lethal with it as you can with a $250 Spot Hog. Your ability as a shooter matters much, much more than the sight you have on your bow. If you don't believe me, there's a ton of people that shoot with no sights and are still extremely lethal. I promise you, you could go out and shoot and put a True Glow on your bow and shoot just as good as you are now with your expensive sight. The small caveat, and the reason why this is number 3, is because more expensive sights tend to have better quality pens, and the brightness of your pen in a low light situation is important. With that said, there are still some really good budget minded sights. Rocky Mountain makes amazing sights in like the $80 range that have super bright pens. So you still don't have to spend that $250. Number 2, and this will probably catch some flack just like the sight did. Stabilizer. This particular stabilizer is titanium with some standard steel weights out front. It's made by Fire Knock. It's like 50 bucks. I painted it black. A stabilizer really isn't important. There's a lot of people that hunt without them because they get in the way. It does help in balancing your bow. That does matter. But for the average bow hunter that's shooting a 20 or 30 yard shot 90% of the time, you could hunt without a stabilizer and be just as lethal as you already are. I promise. You don't have to have the side bars and the front bars and the left bars and the up bars and the down bars and the right bars and the... You don't have to look like you're putting in a cheat code with all the bar directions. You just don't. You don't even need a stabilizer. If you want one, great, but you don't have to drop $250 on stabilizers. It's just not necessary. And the least important accessory to making you a better bow hunter in the bow hunting woods: quiver. I have killed deer carrying in arrows in my hands. I'm talking fistful of arrows, walk in, lay them on the ground next to me, no quiver on my bow. I've killed deer that way. I know people that kill deer that way. The quiver is not important. You could literally spend $15 on a quiver and it's going to do everything you need. I have a friend who, I swear to you, has never spent like more than 14 bucks on a quiver and kills deer every year, no problems. This is convenience. This is not a necessity. Again, I've walked in carrying arrows. You don't have to have this. So those are the 3 least important accessories. You know, do with it what you will. Do you think I missed something? Do you think there's other things that are more important? Do you think there's other things that are less important? Let me know in the comments, because I would really love to have this conversation with all of you guys. As always, I appreciate you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.